Mura with World Class Coaching, and another in our series of animated drills. This is an activity that I first saw done by another coach in the club. They're actually training on the field next to us, so I can't take credit for this, but I liked the setup so much and how it flowed from one thing to the next, and the competitiveness of it, and as far as it being game related, it was just kind of right in line with something I wanted to work on, so it seemed to fit perfectly. So here's how it's set up. You have 3 sets of goals that are organized into 3 lanes. Now these can vary in size. Here I'm showing them as about 12, 13 yards wide. And to begin with, we have the goals at each end, but then we have a flag in the middle. You could substitute those for mannequins. If you have mannequins, fantastic. But flags, serve the purpose here. So the players, very simply, just as a warm-up, we're dribbling at the flag. We'll just get started here with the line. We're dribbling at the flag, and then we're doing a move around that flag, and then going to the end of that line. So we're dribbling here, dribbling, using a fake at the flag, and then dribbling to the end of the line. Player on the other side is performing the same action at the same time. So ideally, the players are moving toward the middle together, so that not only does the dribbler see the flag, but they also see another person coming, just as a trigger for using the move and trying to have a target for that move rather than just doing it in open space. We put an obstacle in the way so that they can use the move past that flag. Now you can tell the players what move you want them to use, so you could have them both do a left-footed scissors and a right-footed playaway. What I did with my players, because they're a little bit older, is I just said you could use any move you want as long as that move ends up to the right. So we've got to make sure both players are going toward their right or toward their left to make sure we don't have any collisions. So here the players use different moves. As I let them kind of do this as a warm-up, then I stopped them, and we talked about making sure that we came out of the move faster than we went into it, making sure that it was actually not just a movement, but a fake. We wanted to make sure that they were trying to fake the player instead of just doing a scissors that doesn't look like anything more than waving your foot around the ball. But really we wanted to make it look like you're trying to pass the ball with the outside of the foot, or like you're going to run in that direction and then explode in the opposite direction. So the players alternate, going and doing all of this at the same time in these 3 different lanes. And I liked it that we were able to keep the group small so that they're getting lots of repetitions. So they'd go for one, they'd rest for one, they'd go for one. So, the work to rest is 1-to-1. But we weren't going for a long time here, and we took breaks in between to talk about the techniques of the moves and the fact that we want to explode out of them. So that's the first phase. So then the second phase is to remove the cones. We'll just not to remove the cones, sorry, but to remove the flags. So we remove the obstacle in the middle from all of the lanes, and then we're going to have the players go 1 versus 1. So we'll have them then pass and follow their pass. So in this example, we would take the ball away from the players at this end, have all the players down here just pass their ball down, basically. I'll just put that player back. And all of the soccer balls would go to this end. I'll just move the ones off the field, and you get the idea of removing the ball. And then what's going to happen is the yellow player is the defender, and they're going to pass the ball then into the attacker, and we're going to play 1v1. So when that ball gets passed in, then the defender moves to pressure, and we'll show a passing line as well. So they pass the ball in, then they move to pressure, and the object, obviously, of the receiving player is to then beat the defender, dribble around, and then score a goal. So we're here, player tries to beat them, and tries to finish in that far goal. If the defender wins the ball, they can finish here. So it's a simple 1v1 activity. And so that's happening in all 3 of these areas, emphasizing the moves that we just worked on, focusing on going at the defender, exploding past them after using a move, sometimes needing to use more than one move to set the defender up and then attack the space. We also talked about, instead of attacking the dribbler or attacking the defender directly and going right at the defender, could you attack one side of the defender and then move to the other side? And so faking one way, going the other. So that's completed back and forth, doing the 1v1. Players wanted to keep their own score. So, they were keeping their score as to, how they did during the game, and we went from there. So now the last phase of this is where we turn this into a 3 versus 1. So now the ball only starts in the middle, and the player with the ball can pass that ball to any one of the 3 players at the end. We'll just get rid of this ball too, just for clarity. We'll get rid of that one as well. And so now what we have is 3 versus 1. The attacking team can score on any of the 3 goals. Now between these, I'm showing cones here. I actually used kind of flat dots on the field so they wouldn't mess with the ball. If a ball rolled over them, it wouldn't affect the roll of the ball. So ball is passed in to any one of these 3 players, and then everybody has to stay in their lane. So the 1v1 is happening over here as the player dribbles forward and attacks them, but the ball can be passed to a teammate at any time. So the ball can be passed there, and then we're playing 1v1 on this side as well. And so the defenders needed to worry about making sure that they were covering the space, because one additional rule was that the attacker could score in any one of the 3 goals. So it's important that the defenders cover for each other. So if the ball's in the middle, then we've got to make sure that we have cover behind them. If the ball is wide here, then the defender in the area next to them needed to protect their goal. This player needs to protect their goal, but it never happened in our activity where they tried to score in the far one. I suppose if a defender was really pushed up, somebody would have tried it, but it didn't happen in ours. So this was great for kind of working on, going 1v1 in your own area, but also being aware of, when maybe you had too much pressure and you couldn't go forward anymore, and when it might be a good idea to lay it back for a teammate that's in a better position to go forward. So these 3 play, and then we change sides. And I should have said that in the 1v1 activity as well. You passed and followed your pass to pressure, but then you switch sides, so then you got to attack the next time. So the final rule that we used is that 2 attackers, I guess it's the second to last rule really, that we used was 2 attackers are allowed to be in the same area at the same time. So now we can create 2v1s. And, it was great because the players were recognizing, when the player with the ball maybe was attacking the defender, and then they could run in from their area, they could run in and overlap, or they could come to the edge of the area and try to find a 2v1. If they could find that there, a little give and go around them. And so that worked really well. And then it became too easy for the attacking team. So then I said that, fine, now we can have 2 defenders as well. So if 2 attackers are there, then 2 defenders can be there. And what started to happen was that we would get the ball into one of the wide areas. We don't need that. He didn't dribble. He could dribble there, but not in this case. You don't have to. But the ball would be passed into that area, and then we'd have the player slide over to support, and we'd have the defender slide over as well. And so what I said was then the people in the far grid can then close and come into that middle area so that they stay connected. And so now it turns in, it's still 3v3, but now we're in a smaller area. We're still attacking all 3 goals. I mean, if this player wants to really open it up and stay wide, they could do. But if the ball gets turned over quickly to the yellow team, then the yellow team can counterattack and go. So this was a setup that was really efficient because it didn't take any, changing of the setup apart from moving the flags out. And then we went from a dribbling activity to a 1v1 to a 3v3, and then added movement and mobility to the players. And it worked fantastic. The players really enjoyed it. So give this one a try with your teams and see how it goes.